Hey there, adventure companions. Have you ever been creating a new character in D&D and just been overwhelmed by the subclass options? Well, today we're talking rogues on the Dungeon Key. I'm Ducky. I'm the DM for the D&D Gens. I've been playing D&D for over 20 years now, and I wanted to share some of my experiences so that we could help you take your game to the next level. So let's sneak into the shadows and talk a little bit about the rogue and their archetypes. The rogue's a class that's been around since the early days of D&D. It's a very versatile class that used to be called Thief back then, and while it's evolved over time, it still remains very similar at the core. They're a fun class to play with a lot of different options, and that's why they've stayed a staple of the game. The major thing that sets rogues apart now are all the archetype choices. Whether it's sneaking through the shadows, being a master of disguise, or, being something just like a pirate. Each one shows how versatile they can be and how they can adapt to any situation that they're in. In my opinion, they're one of the best design classes in the game. They always feel good to play, and you continue to get something at each level. This really provides a great opportunity for you to feel powerful and continue to feel powerful at each level. And that really lets you feel more engaged with the character. Like I said before, they're an incredibly versatile class and can really adapt themselves to every facet of play. RP, combat, and even just the random shenanigans that your party gets up to. So let's go through my top 5 archetypes and why I think they deserve a spot on the list. Coming in at number 5 is the Phantom. The Phantom is a very cool shadow-like character that draws a lot of its power from things like the Shadowfell. They deal with the nature of death and dying and a lot of what that means in the world. I think they come with a lot of really fun role-playing opportunities depending on the type of campaign you're playing. This class really gives me Ghost Rider vibes. They have a connection to the supernatural, ethereal powers, and a connection to the afterlife that really just cements that in for me. The ability that they get at level 3 is called Whispers of the Dead. This is an ability that on a short or long rest gives you the opportunity to change what your tool proficiency is. Now, in certain situations this might not be overly useful, but for some long-running campaigns this could have some serious payoff for you as a character. The second thing they get at level 3 is Wails from the Grave. Immediately after you roll sneak attack damage, you can target another creature within 30 feet, and then roll half of your sneak attack damage against them. Now you can only do this your proficiency bonus number of times a day, but for you to be able to just get a flat half sneak attack damage on a creature with no save is pretty awesome. The ability they get at level 9 is called Tokens of the Departed. Now this is another really cool ability that has some pretty neat role-playing aspects that can come along with it as well. When you are near a creature that dies, you can gain a soul token from that creature. Now you can only have a number of soul tokens equal to your proficiency modifier, but at level 9 you have a pretty decent amount of those. Now just when you have one of these tokens on you, you have advantage on death saving throws and constitution saving throws. Just having one of these things on you is a huge bonus just in that alone. Another option is when you deal sneak attack damage, you can destroy one of these tokens and use your Wails from the Grave ability for free. Now, again, we already talked about that, but that's a great way to just gain extra charges of that and really deal some serious damage. The last thing that you can do with this ability is you can destroy one of these tokens and ask the thing that's trapped in that token a question. Now, this is really where the RP stuff comes in, but it knows what it knew in life. It wants you to let it go, right? The creature that is in this token knows that it's trapped and wants to be set free. And with the right interactions, this can be a really fun thing to roleplay for you and your DM or your group. The next ability that they get at level 13 is called Ghost Walk. As a bonus action, you can turn yourself into a spectral form. While you're in this form, you have 10 feet of flying, which isn't a lot, but it's something. You can hover. A big part of this is attacks have disadvantage against you. You also have the ability to move through creatures, and this can be really, really beneficial in tight combats or with a large group. Now, the caveat to that is they're treated as difficult terrain, so that removes some of your movement. And also, if you end your turn inside of a creature, it takes 1d10 force damage. So you really do have to be careful to not start killing your party with this. You can stay in this form for 10 minutes, which is a really long time, especially in combat, but you can also, instead of taking a long rest, just expend one of your soul tokens to recover the charge. This really gives you some awesome opportunities to use this ability for a very long period of time. The last ability that they get at level 17 is called Death's Friend. This isn't the best capstone ability for a subclass, which is why this stays a little bit further down on the list, but it's still really cool and can help you out doing some things. The first thing that this does is when you use Wails from the Grave, it causes both targets to take the necrotic damage that causes, which again, not huge, but can have some very useful impact. The second thing is, at the end of a long rest, if you don't have a soul token already, it just gives you one. Now this can be really useful in giving you extra padding or extra ability charges when you really need them the most, because you can expend those to do a lot of different things. So you always can walk into a day or combat with already having a token, no matter whether or not you've been in combat or killed somebody that day. Coming in at number 4 on the list is Thief. The Thief is one of those subclasses that really represents what a rogue is to me. They're all about the sneaking and the stealing and the never being noticed. While I find that this subclass is really lacking in certain things for combat, it really gives you the ability to excel outside of that. To me, this class is that very quintessential, like Robin Hood type character. They're not really that special in combat. They're not bad, and they can hold their own, but the other things that it does, the stealing and the setting traps and the like I said, sneaking, being in the shadows, all of those things are what really make this subclass fun to play. The first ability that the Thief gets at level 3 is Fast Hand. This gives your cunning action the ability to do a lot of other things. Whether it's making a sleight of hand, disarming a trap, or using an object, all of those things are now able to be used on a bonus action. Again, while this doesn't seem like a huge deal, it really gives you an opportunity to utilize other facets of your character in combat situations instead of using your attack action or your full action. It lets you use a bonus action to do a lot of those things. The next ability that they get at level 3 is called Second Story Work. This gives the rogue the ability to just freely climb and also allows them to jump a little bit further. And again, like we talked about with the first ability, it's nothing that's huge, but outside of combat, this really gives you an ability to jump around, climb up buildings or walls, and not have to waste extra time. The next ability that you get at level 9 is called Supreme Sneak. This is an ability that really gives you an opportunity to just never be seen and always have sneak attack. If you move no more than half your distance, you have advantage on stealth checks. Now, this is absolutely awesome. It makes sure that you really have a great opportunity, especially if you're proficient in stealth, which you really should be as a rogue. At level 13, rogues get Use Magic Device. This might not seem like something that is super helpful, but the ability to ignore all class restrictions on magic items and use whatever you want is just awesome. You can end up with some crazy shenanigans going on when you're using items that are not meant for you. Last up on the list at level 17 is Thief's Reflexes. Again, another awesome ability. It gives you the ability to take 2 actions on your turn. Now, granted, this is just for the first round of combat, and not if you're surprised, but you take your first action at normal, and then whatever your initiative is minus 10 is when your second action happens. Great opportunity to jump in, do a lot of extra bonus damage, and because sneak attack only is affected by a turn, you still get sneak attack on your second turn. Coming in at number 3 on the list is the Swashbuckler. The Swashbuckler is the quintessential pirate. Whether it's the Dread Pirate Roberts, Captain Jack, or even just Errol Flynn. Each one of these is just the embodiment of what that scoundrel, swashbuckling rogue looks like. First of the 3rd level abilities for the Swashbuckler is called Fancy Footwork. During your turn, when you make an attack and hit, that creature cannot take an opportunity attack against you. Number 1, this makes sure that you can move around the battlefield very freely and not be taking extra damage, but also, like a lot of the other rogue abilities, this is a really fun opportunity for you to roleplay what that looks like and why it's happening. It's a really cool chance for you to just give something extra to what it looks like that your character's doing. The second thing that they get at level 3 is Rakish Audacity. This is where a lot of people have trouble with a Swashbuckler. A lot of their abilities are based on charisma, which this one also is. You get to add your charisma modifier to your initiative. Rogues aren't always the most charismatic person in your group, but you have the ability to really build them that way if you choose. They don't have to be that, sitting in the back, sleeking in the shadows kind of person. They can be the face. They can be that type of character that is very out there. And think about what a Swashbuckler embodies. You have that character that really is that essential, out there, charismatic character. All of those people who you think of when you think of a pirate or of that Swashbuckler type always have that very same line of charisma through them, that I'm better than you, I can beat you at anything. And that's really where this comes from, in my personal opinion. And I think that's great. It really does break the mold on that standard rogue archetype gameplay. But also, this gives you another fantastic piece to use in your kit, you don't need to have advantage to use your sneak attack. If nothing else is in 5 feet of you, you still get your sneak attack bonus. And I think that that's absolutely massive because realistically, all of the rogue's damage comes primarily from sneak attack. And the more opportunity you get to use it and not have to keep yourself in really bad situations so that you're getting the advantage or getting the 5-foot adjustment rule, it really does help you out. The next ability that they get at level 9 is Panache. This is another charisma-based ability. This skill gives you the ability to target a specific creature and give them disadvantage on any attacks that are not against you, and also they can't take opportunity attacks on any creature except for you. Now, when it comes to mitigating damage throughout a fight, this is a huge win for a rogue. It lasts for a full minute, and provided you stay within 60 feet, which usually is pretty simple in a battle, this persists. And again, any ability that can stop incoming damage or really lessen the ability to be taking it, whether it's for you or your party, is fantastic. Because with this, you can keep the creature at a disadvantage, continue to move, keep it moving, and also not really being able to attack your party, and that's just absolutely huge. The next skill that you get at level 13 is Elegant Maneuver. Now, this one kind of falls flat for me a little bit. You can use your bonus action and give you advantage on athletics or acrobatics checks. While there are definitely situations in which this can be useful, I feel like especially at 13th level, this kind of is just a little bit underpowered compared to a lot of the other classes, what they get. But it's still fine, and it's still very fun and can give some really, really cool opportunities in fights. The last skill that you get on the list at 17th level is Master Duelist. Only being able to use this once per long rest kind of sucks, but it's an awesome skill and can really, really get you out of some pretty bad situations. If you miss on an attack, you can re-roll that attack with advantage. You can use this ability on anything, but in a boss fight, this could be a critical component to making sure you guys succeed where you could absolutely fail. Coming in at number 2 on the list is the Arcane Trickster. The Arcane Trickster is an absolute powerhouse of a class. Taking something like a rogue and giving it access to magic is just super cool. The character that I think of a lot when it comes to this is Loki. I really think that trickster nature, the magical enhancement, the illusion, those types of things really fit with this character, and I think it's just a really cool way to start as a concept. Obviously, they gain access to a ton of spells, and you gain access to something that a lot of classes don't, especially martial classes, which is Find Familiar. Find Familiar can be a super fun thing to play around with, and especially in a lot of situations, you can just give yourself advantage. The first skill that the Arcane Trickster gets is Mage Hand Ledgerman. This is a really fun ability and a cool concept that gives you access to the Mage Hand cantrip, but also lets it be invisible. It lets you do all of your rogue things with this hand. And the ability to do some of those things from range, whether it's picking locks or pockets, can really give you an opportunity at greater success because you don't have to be standing right next to something. The next skill they get at level 9 is Magical Ambush. This is a great skill that if a creature cannot see you or you're hidden from it, they have disadvantage on the saves for spells. Especially with the Arcane Trickster, your highest stat isn't your spell saving throws, generally speaking. And having advantage on things like this is super helpful in making sure that they fail and take the damage that they're supposed to, or whatever effect it is. The next skill that they get at 13th level is Versatile Trickster. While you might already be doing something like this with your familiar, if you're taking that spell, it gives you the ability to use your mage hand to distract a target. The last skill that you get at 17th level, and my personal favorite, is Spell Thief. This ability in particular is why the Arcane Trickster is so high up on the list for me. As soon as you are in vicinity of a spell, or a spell targets you, you can use this feature. You use your reaction, and you make the creature make a spell save based on your spell save DC. Remember, if you're hidden, they get disadvantage on this. On a failed save, the spell has no effect on you at all, and you also steal it. For the next 8 hours, you have the ability to cast the spell, provided you have the spell slots to cast it. The big part is the creature then cannot cast that spell. As somebody who's been DMing for as long as I have, I've had this happen to me more than once, and it's absolutely devastating when your Arcane Trickster steals a spell that really is your bread and butter for a character or a boss or something like that, and then you just can't use it. It's just such a great opportunity and a really cool feeling for your character or your players to feel super strong. Coming in at number 1 on the list is the Soul Knife. When I first saw this class initially, the immediate thought that I had was of Psylocke from the X-Men. Starting off, their skills at 3rd level is Psionic Power. This is kind of the equivalent to the Fighter's Superiority die, but for your psychic abilities. The first thing that you can use is an ability called Psi Bolstered Knack. So this means that if you fail a ability check with something you're proficient in, you can use one of these die and give you the extra points you might need to succeed. The next thing, which can be particularly useful on stealth missions, is Psychic Whisper. This allows you to target creatures that you can see, number up to your proficiency bonus, and form a telepathic link with them for up to a number of hours based on the number of the roll of the dice. The next skill that they get at level 3 is Psychic Blades. So this is a really fun skill to use and also gives you another layer of versatility and things to do with your attack and bonus action. Whenever you take the attack action, you can manifest a Psychic Blade in your offhand. After you attack with that blade, you can then use a bonus action to also make another ranged attack with an extra Psychic Blade. The skill that you get at 9th level is Soul Blades. This gives you a couple other things that you can do with your Psychic dice. First thing you can do with it is Homing Strike. This allows you, provided you're using your Psychic weapon, if you miss an attack, you can roll one of your dice, and if it hits, expend it, add that number on the dice to the attack roll to hit. The next thing is Psychic Teleportation. For this ability, you expend one of your Psychic dice, roll it, the number on that dice, you can then throw your knife 10 times that number feet away, and then teleport to that space, provided it's unoccupied. For rogues especially, keeping yourself out of danger is very important, but giving you the ability to jump and bounce around the room can really be a huge part of being successful in a combat or even just a normal encounter. Your skill at 13th level is Psychic Veil. This skill lets you cast invisibility on yourself and anything that you're wearing. Much like normal invisibility, if you attack or make a creature make a saving throw, this pulls you out of invisibility, but this is an ability that you regain on a long rest, or you can also expend a Psychic dice to do this more than once. The last skill that they get at level 17 is Rend Mind. This skill lets you, when using Sneak Attack, make the creature make a saving throw, and if they fail, stuns them for 1 minute. Much like other effects, obviously the creature can roll to end it at the end of their turn, but even just one round of stun can truly change the tide of an encounter. So now that we've run through all 5 of the subclasses, let's go over them one more time. Coming in at number 5, the Phantom. Number 4, the Thief. Number 3, Swashbuckler. Number 2, Arcane Trickster. And coming in at number 1, the Soul Knife. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is just my list. We'd love to hear what you think about it and where you would rank them in your own list. We'd also like to hear what you would put at number 1, because our next video is going to be building one of these classes into something absolutely ridiculous. So if you liked this video, want to see what the next video is, or just keep updated on our adventures, hit the subscribe button or that little bell icon to be notified of when it comes out. And we'll see you next time on the Dungeon Key.